Day 2 of Eurovision 2018 rehearsal saw 9 acts rehearse for the very first time. Among them were Austria, Greece, Finland, Armenia, Switzerland, Ireland, Cyprus, and the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia and Croatia. That was a mouthful, but worth every morsel. Should we talk about it? Let's do this! Yes, we have been here all day. We have not had any sunlight, very little food, even less water.
No rest.
No rest, honey.
No voice.
No rest for the wee-wees. But we are going to pick our biggest grower, the act that improved the most. Our
disappointment.
Yeah, the act that didn't live up to our expectations. And finally, our 2 winners. So, Porig, why don't you kick us off with your biggest grower?
My biggest grower, really there's no contention for me. It's the only song that I came in with no expectation for today, because it was bottom of my bunch of today's 9, and that was Croatia's Franca and Crazy. I just thought it was going to be like the music video, that there would be too much emphasis on style over substance, and it would just be dull and boring. And I was so wrong, because the stage show, she doesn't do much on the stage show, but just everything is done so intelligently, like her outfit, her movements, the camera shots, and then she just ups the level to be on the next level, whatever that is, with her voice. And see, we forget sometimes, like a lot of the time Eurovision is kind of an act's big break, but like Franca has been doing this for years. She's a big deal in Croatia, and so she knows how to own a stage, and this is probably like, she's probably played in bigger arenas than this, so it's just like another day in the office. It was like maybe not quite at the same level as Iveta Mukuchian and Love Wave, but it was those vibes. If you look at it, that's probably the closest comparison you can make. But she was more simplistic. She didn't have any fancy holograms or anything like that, but it was very seductive, not quite as sexual. Her dress was flowing down to the ground, but it was a lovely, pleasant surprise.
Not sexual, very sensual, and also my biggest grower. In the initial reaction video I filmed with Debin, I said, wait for the staging, do not write this off yet. They had a vision in their music video, and they have a vision here. They're on a simple stage, but this type of music, this genre, when delivered well, works very well on a simple stage. You don't need fireworks. You just need close-ups of Franca's beautiful face, that voice, that dress. This is a sultry, sensual package. Even the spoken word segment, which I'm not a huge fan of, she gives it life and makes it interesting. When she's speaking, it's like she's speaking to you. You really feel a connection to Franca. That is the strength of this, and I hope they have fewer pan-outs, because I just want it to be all about her all the time. I don't need to see the stage lights. And their staging is so simple that actually when you go far away, it loses its strength, because it's just a backdrop for the real star, which is Ms. Baletic. Well done. This has gone from kind of a definite not qualifier to something that's really challenging and that could really push through. And vocally, she was just so good. One of the best of the day.
So Croatia is also my grower. Miss Franca, I mean, she really, really killed it. I think that the way that they do film it, the close-ups at the start, it works so well, and that's what they should do throughout, because when it does pan out, it does start to lose it a little bit. But I kind of like comparing it with Cyprus, which came later, and that's very sexual and kind of raw and animalistic in a way, and brings the fire. This is kind of like the demure sister, but it works in a way, like, because it's still sultry, there is still that kind of, because she's like stunningly beautiful. It just kind of is a nice like pair off, and I just thought that it was so much better than what I thought it would be, because this was the one where I was like, I think we can just write this off before we even see it. I was wrong. I am sorry, Croatia. And I just like the fact that they haven't brought a gimmick. Like every other year Croatia have come back, they had that crazy thing they put Nina Kraljic in. Jacques Hudek was Jacques Hudek. And now this is just plain simple, and they have trust in her, and they have trusted her wisely.
I've just got to point out, he is not a chain-smoking drag queen. He is actually just a little bit under the weather vocally. He was talking so much yesterday. We wish you a speedy recovery.
Thank you. It's getting there.
All right, we move on to our biggest disappointment. Now, this is not necessarily the biggest loser. This is just saying maybe we had real high expectations for someone and they didn't live up to that, and so that gap is what we're talking about. So you could still be very well, but also do very well, but be a disappointment. Porrig.
My biggest disappointment, I actually found it hard to pick a song today because most of the songs either lived up to their billing or surpassed it. But I would have to say, even though I wasn't kind of a fan of the song going in, and I'm still not, but it would have been Slovak's Armenia, or Armenia's Slovak. And because my thing is that Armenia usually elevate at Eurovision and they take it up and beyond their studio cut and beyond what we've seen before, whether that was live performances at preview parties or in their national selections or whatever, whereas I felt nearly there was a step backwards, that it was less dynamic than the Depi of Rehearsal performance and it was very static and nothing really happened, but then we didn't see the very final cut. So maybe something fabulous happened third time round.
Yeah.
But still, it would have had to be a huge overhaul. Like, I don't know. Because he was surrounded by the circle of pillars, and it was grey and dark.
Monumental.
He looked brooding and handsome, tall, dark, and handsome.
Yes.
But like the song, I don't think there was enough there to grip you, and there wasn't. Yeah, it just left me bored.
I think something must have happened in the third run through. They cut off the televisions, so we couldn't see, which is rather frustrating. So it's hard to assess this. But they were going for something austere and sober, and it had its own power, its own magic. It's such a stark contrast to Saara Aalto that might actually help it because it's so different. This is not my biggest disappointment. Let me just be clear. My biggest disappointment, I also struggled. I really, really struggled with this, and I'm still struggling with this. So much so that I'm going to have Chris give me his biggest disappointment.
So I'm kind of playing off in my head and my heart. My head says Macedonia, my heart says Armenia, because I don't want to say that Macedonia was my disappointment. But I kind of feel like it was. I mean, Armenia is a bit of a letdown because I do prefer what was happening in Depi of Rehearsal, but at the same time, he still has that power, he still has that emotion, and he does sell it. Like, he didn't need massively epic staging, but I do kind of feel like because it's Armenia, I was expecting maybe that little bit more of an elevation. But I think Macedonia probably is, just because it's an amazing first 30 seconds, and because of that, my expectations during the rest of that performance were like, oh my god, this is going to be amazing. And then by the 2-minute mark, I was like, oh, it's back to normal Macedonia, where they don't know how to stage a song. Because that first 30 seconds is like really stunning and actually some of the best staging we've seen so far. But then it just they just start wandering around. There's poor camera choices. They kind of get it back by the end, but even then they end up on the bridge and it's Bojan, I think, and Maria. But even that kind of pales in comparison to Lithuania, where you've got Ayeva and her husband, and that's a much nicer moment. This is kind of like, and now we're done. We're just here. So I just kind of feel like, once again, I'm kind of just like, Macedonia has such potential, and I just wish they would get it right, like the whole way through one year, because at least they've got something right, but they haven't got it all right, and that's what they need.
Yeah, you actually read my mind, because you can see I have it circled. My biggest disappointment is also former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, but it's not a disappointment. I don't think this is the loser of the day, and I still think this could qualify, actually, if they tidy things up. It's just the beginning of this entry is so good. When you have that kind of glitch, the digital glitch, all black, and she's inviting you in, it's fantastic. Welcome to her world, and I'm like, I am with you. Take me to your world. But then the mid-section, it's more lost than found. It's people that seem to be wandering around. I don't know if that's because the camera angles weren't decided on. Because actually, I quite like the concept of the clothing, actually. She's open in the back, but closed in the front. Bright colors, her dancers match that. Everything is there. It's just the camera angles and stage direction is what's off. And that's such a huge part of it. Because by the end, the bridge moment could be very nice. Because, you know, it's an interesting shot. Eva's the only other one who really uses it.
And Netta's dancers.
Oh, and
but
Netta's
even
dancers.
then, that's like only
It
a
feels
very brief
different,
thing.
right?
Ryan's dancers used it.
Didn't even remember it, so it didn't make an impression. But it's just at the point that they can really salvage this. There's so much potential here. I think when Maria and Boyan come together, it's amazing. I think they both look really cool. I love his clothes. I love what she's wearing. It's just a matter of tidying up the middle. Like, it almost seemed like they were literally lost at times. The cameraman, I mean, because the dancers were moving and they were doing things. They were coming together, but there was no camera there to greet them.
Yeah.
So look, they could still qualify. They really could. She sounded vocally, she was perfect.
Yeah.
Let's just call it spade a
yeah,
spade.
yeah,
She was on point, one of the best of the day vocally, and it's very colorful and bright and happy. I just hope they tidy up the middle, and they can. There is time, so let's not be negative. Let's stay strong, queens. Yes. All right. So now it's time to move on to our two winners. Why don't we kick it off with second place, our second favorite of the day?
Yeah, well, for me, in a way, I almost wanted to have 3 winners.
Yes.
But there was 2 that were a cut above the rest for me. And I'll just say that in third place, an honorary mention, I won't go into any more detail, but it's Saara, Aalto and Monster. So then that puts Austria's Cesar Sampson at my number 2 spot, my runner-up of the day. And I was just so happy with this performance, because this was one of the performances that I was worried mightn't deliver.
Yeah.
Because Austria, often they have quite good staging. Other times it can be kind of a bit of a letdown, and it can be a bit gimmicky if we think back to the Make Mix with their piano on fire. But Cesar, it's probably the best Austrian staging we've seen in so long, even though Conchita and Zoe had excellent staging too. But like, this is, maybe it hasn't surpassed Conchita, but it's up there.
It's up there.
And there's just so much at it, but he's just avoided going too far. He has the platform elevates, he has smoke, he has pyro, he has, his face is projected.
Stunning.
And it's done really well. It's not like last year. And the other thing as well is last year we got sick and tired of it because so many people had it. He's the first to do it.
Yeah. And he did it in a better way.
Yeah, and it kind of, I don't know, it felt that it fitted the song. It didn't feel like it was just there for the sake of being there. His voice worked, there was nothing wrong with his voice. His charisma, he had the charisma that was kind of missing in the music videos.
Yes.
I felt at times he was kind of a bit aloof, that he didn't connect properly with the camera and that it was hard to connect with him as a viewer. But everything was so good, even like the backing singers doing the gospel effect.
Oh.
Because they were nearly as good as the recorded version, and yeah, it just ticks so many boxes for me today.
This is my number 3. It was almost my number 2. It was also my number 1. My top is very tight. But this was excellent. He actually looks like Bambi in person. He has such delicate features, these beautiful eyes. And during the interview, I was talking to him and I was like, this man is real handsome. I can't focus, but he's so nice and so humble. I wish him all the best. I think he's going to the final. It was a lovely performance, that spaceship taking him higher. Oh, but he is my number 3. So my number 2, and this is tough. I'm going to say Saara, Aalto, Finland. This is a huge grower. We said it earlier, from circus to Cirque du Soleil. They tightened this, they gave it new dynamism, new life. It wasn't a freak show fantasy. It was just out there enough to be like, whoa, this is so cool, I want to keep watching. But it was sober enough to appeal to a mass audience, kids, adults, teenagers, people from different countries. Very dark, but not Halloween. Very mysterious, but not scary. It's just the tonality is so perfect. It fits with the song, and it still has that happy tropical vibe, despite the, degree of darkness that surrounds it. The dancers were not cringe. At some of the stage shows this year, like in London, I didn't like those dancers. Let me just call it that.
No.
It didn't work. Here it works. The androgynous male-female dancers, it kind of nods to the LGBTQ movement in a way. Very androgynous, very interesting. When far away, you don't know who's who. I just really love this. I think she went from being a borderline non-qualifier to being a definite qualifier. As long as she nails her vocals, which she always does and she always will, she is safe, she is sailing. Saara, I love you. This is how you slay.
So my number 2, and I've kind of gone back and forth on it, but I think just because of a couple things, it's Cyprus's Eleni Foureira. Just because I think that the graphics that they were using, when we first saw it in the press centre room, where it was on the big screen and it all looked really, really good, and it was like, wow, that's a moment. And then I was out in the info area, I happened to be there when her second rehearsal started, and they have a much smaller screen, but it's a slightly clearer picture. And the graphics looked a bit cheaper, and it just didn't work. And the placement of them, we have to talk about, because some of them, it looked like the fire was coming out of...
her anus.
Yes, or the front version of that. it just didn't quite look right. And I just worry that maybe they've gone a little bit too much style over substance with those, but otherwise, that was amazing because I wasn't sure what to expect, and she brought it. Like, some of those dance, like, they're all in sync, they look great, the hair flicks, like, she flicks the fire from the sides of the screen away with her hair. Like, that's amazing, and it's so well timed. Like,
Spoken like a true gay man. That was
exactly
amazing.
right. It was amazing. Yeah, she really, really stole the show, I thought, at the end. But there were just those little bits, which is why my number one, which I really just pushed it a little bit above for me. But this is going to be such a close to the show, and she is in with a real chance of winning the semi-final.
Yes, take me higher.
Well, she's burning up everything, all the competition as far as I'm concerned. Pelican can fly, fly, fly. It's Eleni Foureira with Fuego, because you mentioned the graphics. They were the only weak link. Put them in the bin. We don't need them. They don't add anything. The cloud effect is cool where she whips her hair. With the flames, they don't add anything, and they're just a silly distraction. Unless you're going to do them very well, don't bother. And we've seen them, like, people are always testing with these things, especially with Sasha Jean-Baptiste. She loves the graphics, and we've seen Christian Kostov dump his childish squiggles, and what you call them, -1 from Cyprus dumped wolves back in 2016. So they can dump the flames or improve them.
And all of them had Sasha Jean-Baptiste, interestingly, what you just said.
So, like, they can get rid of them, hopefully, or improve them. But anyways, I'm going on about the flames, and I don't care about the flames. Eleni was the star of the show. There was no question about it. Her dance moves were completely on point. They were completely in time with the music. We said yesterday about Elena's dress, how it was like it was a living substance that moved with the music. It was like, literally, the music was like puppeteer to Eleni and her dancers. Like, the choreography was just that slick. It was nearly like there were robots that automated to do it. And all the time, like, she didn't get out of breath. Perhaps she had a backing vocalist with her, but, like, she was putting in a lot of work in those vocals, and people had been throwing a lot of shade her way, like, all along. And she looked great. Her costume was great. The staging, the lights, this was so suitable, like, because kind of the easy option would have been just to have flamey orange lights, but she kind of toned it down with pinks and purples, and I don't know what else to add to it, because there's not much more to say that we haven't said in a review video already. But, like, it stole the show. It got 3 rounds of applause, like, for each and every rehearsal. No one else has got that, and they weren't just like muted polite claps, like they were cheers. And she's definitely, because a lot of people have kind of put her in the questionable category based on her vocals and stuff. But she's moved out of that. Like, it's not a case of when she will qualify or if she will qualify. It's a case of how well she will do when she gets to the final.
Absolutely. Gasoline, kerosene, oil. Give me a match and set it on fire. That's fuego. Over the shoulder, that car just burned, honey. This is giving me life. This is making me sweat. This is making my teeth sweat. This makes me want to move. The 3 minutes speed by like 90 seconds. There's not a dull moment in this. Sometimes dance numbers become repetitive and boring after the first chorus. This does not fall for that trap. No, no, no. There is so much heat, and yet she's still so stable. She is watching the stage go on, set alight, but she's not being burned. And it's difficult to have that, because sometimes the stage can overwhelm you. Like, if you got all these fire graphics, you got all these dance moves, you can get lost. She didn't get lost. She was never lost. She was found, honey. It's just so invigorating, so life-giving. Earth, water, fire. There's something so basic about this, and yet so magical. I think the simplicity of the song is one of its strengths. It's got traditional elements, it's got dance elements, it's got an easy chorus that you can remember in the refrain. You just need to hear a snippet of it and you remember the whole thing. Great package, and then she comes here and she delivers, whipping that hair back. Oh my God, this isn't Beyonce 2.0. This is Eleni Foureira 1.0, okay? Ain't no beta version. She's been tested, she's been tried, and I want to buy. She's selling, I'm buying. Give me a credit card, I will max it out. I can't say enough about this. This is feel good, this is fun, this is alive, this is real, this is beautiful. It's not just bright. When people think of fire, they think orange and red. This has purples. This has oranges mixed with those and reds. It's like art. It's like art. A beautiful peacock with a gas mat, a match and some gasoline, and bam. all those pineapple and banana ads, that money was put to good use because this was expensive. It looked expensive. I can't say enough about this. Watch our other review video if you want to hear more. This is going to the final, and I think this could really, really push up. This cuts across demographics, this cuts across borders, this cuts across age, sexuality, gender, you know, family, singleton, you name it. People can identify with Fuego.
Yeah. So, as much as I would love to put Switzerland at my traditional number one spot, I can't because they were my number three in reality. My number one for today was Saara Aalto.
Ah, yes.
Because I went into this contest completely writing her off. I've never really particularly rated the song, and London and all that, I thought it looked desperate. It looked a bit like we're throwing everything, we're still not certain what to do. And it was kind of the big question, like, what Saara are we going to get? And we got kind of the two sides. Like, we got the campy, over-the-top staging Saara, which was the wheel. But then it turns into actually something a bit more refined, and it's still got the gimmicks and the props, but it's actually kind of, it's more cohesive, and it works, and it really stands out on stage. It's very high energy, and it's very camp at the end of the day. Like, it's just got that kind of like a nudge and a wink, like this is for a Eurovision audience, and we know that. She's not going to challenge for the win. I think she'll definitely qualify now. I've seen people say that her vocals, that she was shouting. I didn't hear that.
She was upside down and they couldn't remove the belt.
And you have to remember with some of these things, like when people hear those first rehearsal clips, like on the Eurovision YouTube, that isn't necessarily the actual like audio coming through because there's echoes, there's things like that. It's a completely empty arena. She sounded really good, and actually it was a lot better than UMK, I thought, even. Yeah, I just thought that it was such a strong performance, and it's just surprised me so much because I was completely ready to be like, she's done. No, she is not. She is here, and she is ready to slay those monsters under her bed.
If I was one of those monsters, I would be hiding. I'd be digging a tunnel into her bathroom, get out the bedroom under her bed, okay? In any case, that is what we think on day 2 of the first rehearsals of Eurovision 2018. What do you think? Which acts grew the most for you? Who are your winners, and who are your losers? Because ain't everybody gonna win. In any case, let us know here on wiwibloggs.
Make sure to like the video, and please hope that my voice gets better.
And subscribe and hit the notification so that you don't miss any videos, or Suzanne Adams' live stream. She'll be back tomorrow.
Hi guys!
2 seconds, who's your winner? Just very short, who's your winner today?
Based on performance, I really loved Cyprus, but Saara Aalto, well, she's just my favorite.
Amazing. Bernardo Tavares Pereira, Portuguese correspondent. Who is your winner?
Cyprus. Really, Cyprus.
Yeah, Latin fire, Iberian realness. We'll see you later. Bye.